I'm 74 years old, and I want to start with a question that nobody ever asked me when I was your age. Who would show up? Not to your wedding, not to your birthday party, not to the good moments where showing up costs nothing and feels easy. I mean, who would show up at 2 a.m. when everything has fallen apart? Who would sit with you in a hospital waiting room for 6 hours without complaining? Who would tell you the truth about yourself when the truth is the last thing you want to hear? Because here's what I've learned after 76 years on this earth. Most people never actually find out. They go through their entire lives surrounded by both, family and friends, and they never stress test either one. They assume. They hope. They tell themselves the answer without ever really knowing. And then something happens, something that requires real showing up, and they find out. I found out at 67. My wife had a stroke, not a mild one, the kind that changes everything. The kind where the person you love is still there, but different. And your whole life restructures itself overnight around a new reality nobody prepared you for. And in the weeks that followed, I found out exactly who showed up. And I found out exactly who didn't. And what I discovered did not fall neatly along the lines I had assumed for 40 years. That's what I want to talk to you about today. Not to tell you that family is better than friends, not to tell you that friends are better than family, but to tell you something more uncomfortable than either of those answers. I want to tell you what happens when you get this wrong, because getting it wrong, and I got it wrong for most of my life, costs you something you cannot get back. Here is what I used to believe. Family is permanent. Friends are seasonal. That was my operating assumption for most of my adult life. Blood is blood. Whatever happens, family is the foundation, the thing that holds when everything else gives way. Friends come and go. They belong to chapters of your life. You meet them at work, at school, through circumstance. And when the circumstance changes, most of them drift. That's natural. That's just how it works. So I invested accordingly. I kept family close, and I kept friends comfortable. I showed up for family events. I answered family calls first. I made family the center of gravity. And with friends, I was present when it was easy. I let relationships coast. I told myself we were close, that the bond was solid, that we'd always be there for each other, without ever really doing the work to make that true. I told myself I didn't have time to maintain deep friendships. I had a family to take care of. I had responsibilities, real ones. Friends would understand. Does any part of that sound like you? Are you coasting on friendships right now, assuming they'll hold, without really tending to them? The stroke happened on a Tuesday morning. I was in the kitchen, she was upstairs, and then there was a sound I will never forget, and a moment where the entire shape of my life changed in under 60 seconds. What followed was the most disorienting period of my life. Not just the fear, though the fear was enormous, but the sudden, complete restructuring of everything. Hospital visits, medical decisions I wasn't qualified to make, phone calls I didn't know how to have, a house that felt completely different when I came home to it alone each night. And people rallied. In the beginning, people always rally. The calls come in. The messages flood. Everyone is horrified. Everyone is concerned. Everyone wants to help. That lasts about 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, most people return to their lives, which is understandable, which is human. I don't blame anyone for it. But some people didn't return to their lives. Some people stayed, and here is what shook me. 2 of the people who stayed, who showed up consistently, who called every week, who sat with me, who drove me to appointments, who made sure I ate properly, who listened to the same fears on rotation without ever making me feel like a burden, were not family. They were friends. Friends I had categorized somewhere in the back of my mind as secondary. Friends I had coasted with. Friends I had assumed were close, without ever doing the real work of closeness. And some family, not all, but some, were present in the way people are present when it's convenient. They came when I asked directly. They helped when the task was specific and manageable. But the quiet, sustained, unglamorous work of just being there, that came from somewhere I hadn't expected. That's what broke my assumption open. Not dramatically, quietly, the way most important realizations arrive. I started thinking about the decades before that moment. The choices I had made about where to invest my time and emotional energy. And I saw a pattern I hadn't seen before. I had been maintaining relationships by category rather than by quality. Family got automatic loyalty regardless of the actual relationship. Friends got presence only when it was easy, and I had never stopped to ask, who in either group actually knows me? Who have I actually let in? Who have I been honest with? Who have I shown the difficult, unglamorous parts of myself to? The answer was uncomfortable. Because building a real relationship with anyone, family or friend, requires the same things: honesty, consistency, showing up when it's inconvenient, telling the truth when it would be easier to stay quiet, being known, not just familiar. Familiarity is not closeness. I confused the two for most of my life. You can spend every Christmas with someone for 40 years and still not really know them. You can sit across a dinner table from the same people twice a month and never have a conversation that costs either of you anything real. Who in your life actually knows you? Not the version of you that's easy to be around, the real one. Let me tell you what I carry. I carry the friendships I let go quiet, men and women I was genuinely close to in my 30s, people who knew me before I had anything to prove, who liked me before I had built anything worth liking. I let those friendships coast. I got busy. I told myself we'd catch up properly when things eased up. Things never eased up. And slowly, without any single moment of rupture, those people moved to the edge of my life and then out of it completely. I carry the family relationships I maintained out of obligation rather than choice. Gatherings I attended without presence. Conversations I had on the surface for years. Opportunities to be genuinely honest with people I loved. Moments where I could have said something real, and I said something safe instead because it was easier and because I told myself there would be more time. There wasn't always more time. I carry the version of myself that never quite let people in, not because I was cold, I don't think I was cold, but because real closeness requires a kind of vulnerability I was never comfortable with. I kept people at a specific distance, close enough to feel connected, not close enough to feel truly known. And I told myself that was just my personality, that some people are more private, that intimacy wasn't really my way. What it actually was fear, plain and ordinary fear of being seen clearly and found wanting. And the cost of that fear, accumulated over decades, is a particular kind of loneliness. Not the loneliness of having nobody around. I had people around. But the loneliness of being surrounded by people who don't really know you, and realizing, late, that some of that was your own doing. Now I want to speak to you directly. Think about the 5 people you spend the most time with, family or friends. It doesn't matter what category they fall into. Just the 5 people who are most present in your life right now. How many of them know what you're actually afraid of? Not your general worries, your real fears, the ones you don't say out loud. How many of them have seen you at your lowest? Not your managed, recovered lowest, but the actual floor, and stayed. How many of them would you call at 2 a.m.? And how many of them would actually answer? If those numbers are low, and for most people they are, I want you to understand something. That is not just bad luck. That is not just circumstance. That is something you have built, or failed to build, through the choices you have made about where to put your time and your honesty and your presence. You are building your support structure right now, every week, through what you choose to tend and what you choose to let go quiet. What are you letting go quiet that you cannot afford to lose? Here is what I know now, after 76 years. After the stroke and the hospital waiting rooms and the quiet Tuesday nights, and all the things that forced me to finally look clearly at what I had actually built in terms of human connection. The question is not family or friends. That is the wrong question, and it kept me thinking in the wrong direction for most of my adult life. The right question is, who have you been real with? Who have you shown up for consistently, not just when it was easy? Who have you told the truth to, even when it cost you something? Who have you let see you clearly? Because those people, whoever they are, whatever category they fall into, those are your people. And the size of that group is almost entirely determined by choices you are making right now. Most people have very few of them, 1, maybe 2. Some people have none, not because they have been unlucky, but because they have spent their lives keeping people at a comfortable distance and calling it independence. Here is the warning, the one I wish someone had delivered to me at 35, with the directness I'm giving it to you now. Loneliness is one of the most dangerous things that can happen to a human body. Not uncomfortable, dangerous. The research is not subtle. Chronic loneliness increases your risk of early death more than smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It impairs your immune system, your cognitive function, your cardiovascular health. It is not a feeling to be managed. It is a health risk to be taken seriously. And the loneliness I'm talking about is not the loneliness of being physically alone. It is the loneliness of not being truly known by another person, of going through your life performing a version of yourself to your family, to your friends, to your colleagues, and never quite being seen underneath it. That loneliness can live inside a marriage. It can live inside a large, noisy family. It can live inside a social life that looks, from the outside, completely full. And it builds, quietly, over years, until one crisis, one stroke, one diagnosis, one 2 a.m. moment reveals exactly how deep the foundation goes. So here is what I want you to do. Call someone this week, not to catch up casually, but to actually say something real. Tell them something you haven't said. Ask them something you've been meaning to ask. Close a gap you've been leaving open out of habit or comfort, or the quiet assumption that there's still time. Tend one relationship this week that you've been letting coast. Not grandly, not with a big gesture, just a little more honestly than usual. Because the quality of your life, I am completely certain of this at 76, is determined almost entirely by the quality of your closest relationships. Not your success, not your financial security, not the things you built, or the places you went, or the titles you held. The people who actually know you. That's it. That is the whole thing. I spent too many years getting that wrong. Categorizing instead of connecting. Maintaining instead of deepening. Being present in body without being present in truth. Family or friends? The answer is neither, and both. The answer is whoever you have chosen to be real with. Go find those people, keep them, and if you haven't found them yet, that work starts now, not later, now. If this reached something in you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment. Tell me who showed up for you when it mattered most. I read every one. And if you want more of these honest conversations, stay around. I'll be here.